when I was in the magazine business, and I like to tell you guys these stories because it is a big part of my high production. I learned a lot when I was traveling around the United States doing the magazine sales. We used to do door-to-door sales. I started doing door-to-door sales when I was 17 years old, and it just clicked for me. I just clicked. And I learned how to communicate. I really enjoyed meeting new people, knocking on random doors and just talking to different people all the time, making them laugh, getting them to buy stuff from me. It just really was my niche. But the magazine business was pretty interesting, and I'm going to tell you why I say it was really interesting. Okay, because we would travel around the United States to different cities and stay in hotels. Okay? So, and the people that were in this business, it was more like a gang than a business. I mean, it was dead serious about you going out and doing a good job. People would get left on the other side of the country from where they lived if they didn't go to work and do a good job. Companies would leave people on the side of the road for playing games and not going to work. I'm dead serious. If people didn't go to work, they get left somewhere. People went to work. When you join these teams, people would drive around. There'd be something called a car handler, which I was a car handler for a long time. And there was no games about getting business. You're going to go to work. You're going to get a certain amount of sales every day. Or when you get back to the hotel, they might beat you up. You might get stranded. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm being dead serious. So I was always really good at it, so I never had those problems. I always did really good in sales, so I always was hanging out with the leaders. I never had those problems, but I seen people go through some hard times. But being around that kind of pressure, though, I learned a lot of stuff because I learned what people are capable of, right? It's pretty interesting how well someone will do when they could possibly get beat up for not getting their sales, right? Think about it, right? I mean, it wasn't like, oh, go to work, or you won't make money. Nah, it was like, go to work or they might, put hands on you later on tonight. If you think we're playing games, try not to get no business today. It was like that. But I learned a lot about the abilities that people have to go to work, right? And we used to have a theme. Our theme, we used to have a slogan, really. And with our crew, one thing we used to say more than anything else was make it happen. Right? Make it happen. And I was thinking back on all the different situations I used to be in, because you got to imagine driving around different states and stuff like that. So many things could go wrong. The vehicles could break down. Sometimes we would be in different cities and states and we'd be going to do sales and my whole car would get arrested for soliciting. And I'd have to go bond everybody out of jail and get back to work to make sure I got the business for the end of the day. I was thinking about all the different stuff that I used to have to deal with throughout a day-to-day basis, right? But the goal was to always make sure that we had our total by the end of the day. It was blood, sweat, and tears. Like, we're getting that business, right? So by having that standard, I learned how capable we are. When I say we, I mean human beings, at getting it done, getting the job done, right? And we used to say, make it happen. It didn't matter what would go on throughout the day. There was no excuses, right? There was no excuses. So me personally, I had to have my business, and my goal was not only to drive everybody around and make sure that everybody had their business, but my goal was to always have more business than anyone else in my car. So not only did I want to drive around and make sure all my people went to work, but I'm trying to be high in my car as well, right? So I would drop everybody off in different locations and then go get my business. So I drop everybody off. I'll be like, I'll see you in 2 hours right here on this corner, like 12 to 15 people in a row. Then I'd have to jump out myself and go knock doors or run up to people in parking lots or whatever and get my business and then go pick them back up and remember where they were all at, So I got really good at that. But I was thinking about how many different situations I used to be in where I had to make it happen. Like it didn't matter. Like things would pop up that you would almost think for sure would be a reason that we wouldn't have to go to work that day. But none of it mattered, didn't matter. Always had to have our business. No excuses whatsoever, right? Rent's got to be paid. We're traveling around, right? We had loyalty to our business, right? I was telling you guys.
I think Judah stepped on the cord.
Oh, he got it.
Good job, Judah.
I'm like, what happened? Don't take that out.
Too late.
You gotta push the button.
So, give me a second.
1001, 1002.
Here we go. Back in business. So make it happen. Make it happen. Right? I was thinking about that. Make it happen. And then I started thinking about it this morning too, right? Antonio posted in the chat. He was like, yeah, man, can anybody give me a ride? Right? And I replied back to him and I was like, hey, this ain't on nobody else, right? Because Antonio's car broke down and I told him, or whatever happened with his car, and I told him, I said, hey, check this out. You got a week. He was telling me that he could get another car if he came up with so many dollars, you know? And I said, listen, if you could make it happen, but you got to get out there every day and go hard and make sure you get as much sales as you possibly can. And then by next Friday, you'll have enough coming in where you could go get that vehicle that you're trying to get. But you got to make it happen. Right? So I seen him trying to thumb for a ride in the chat this morning. And I was like, hold on a second. I need to let him know, like, it ain't on nobody else to get you to the office. Like, I'm trusting you with inventory, right? But compliance is compliance. You have to be there by the time you're supposed to be there on the consignment sheet, right? And I thought to myself, if he wants it bad enough, he'll make it happen.
Yep.
Right? And I was imagining in my mind the scenarios of what making it happen might look like. You might have to get a relative to give you a ride. You might have to walk. You better start leaving now from the house. You know what I'm saying? Like you might have to thumb a ride. You might have to jump on a bus. You might have to this. You might have to that. But if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. So I was really proud of him when he posted it. He shot me a text. Hey, I'm at the office. I'm the first one here. You know, I'm not going to let you down. I really respect everything you've been telling me. I'm motivated. If I was going to quit headed straight up before, I would have quit already. I ain't quitting now. You know, so I was really proud of him with that, right? And then I started thinking in my mind, because he's in a scenario, right, where he don't have a vehicle, right? And it's really convenient to kind of put it on other people, like, oh, can I get a ride? But I started thinking about it, like, at the end of the day, if you want it bad, you'll make it happen, right? Because with this kind of job, you can start in the apartment complex right next door to here and start hitting doors back to back to back, right? If you really wanted it bad enough, you can start hitting doors, get enough sales, right? If you need to get from one spot to another bad enough, so you better sell a tablet or two, right? Now you got you some cash. Now you get a hold of somebody in the apartment complex, tell them, hey, let me get a ride and I'll give you 20 bucks. Boom, now you got a ride to the spot that's popping. You get over to the spot that's popping. Are you guys following what I'm saying? Like, in this type of job, if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen, right? I've seen people time and time again get into situations and they act like there's a reason for failure. And in my mind, because of the way I've had to grow up in the sales business, I know that there are no excuses. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can make it happen. Listen, there's times, I remember times when I would try to talk to people, they get kicked out of a location, right? I pull up on them, oh, we just got kicked out of this spot, right? I look across the street, it looked like there's a jamming apartment complex right across the street. I'm like, you mean to tell me you don't see that you could have just walked right over there and started knocking on doors and kept getting business throughout the day? That's called making it happen. There's a lot of scenarios in your life where you got to kind of start thinking outside the box and stop being trapped in by the traditional thinking, right? Because really when it comes down to it, if you're looking for an excuse, you'll always find one, right? But if you're looking for a way to make it happen and you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to make it happen too. That's what I found. How bad do you want it? I was thinking about it yesterday, last night. Like, a lot of people want a lot of things, but it's like, how bad do you actually want it? Because if you want it bad enough, I'm sure you could think of some times in your life where you got really creative thinking and you made some stuff happen. You might have been in a situation, right? But if you, look, I used to give this idea. What if I told you that what if I told you I had a $500,000 check for you in New York City right now? You just got to get there by tomorrow. Huh? I'm saying, would you give me an excuse? Tell me honestly, would you give me an excuse? Would you say it's too far and you can't make it, but thanks for the offer anyways? Huh? I'm saying, if you wanted it bad enough, you'd figure out a way to make it happen, right? But what you don't realize is the prize that's waiting for you in this trail of success that we're trying to get you on is way bigger than $500,000, right? And it's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen if you make it happen. Maybe you need to start thinking about your next sale like $500,000. I think if you flip your thinking and start looking at your next sale like it's worth $500, $500,000, I think that might help you get where you want to go a little quicker, because you don't have enough value on it, and that's why you're making excuses. If you actually knew what you could accomplish in this business and any business, if you really worked hard enough, you would push harder. You would actually make it happen. Right? To me, there's no excuses. As soon as the clock starts on the field, guess what I'm doing? Yelling as loud as I can. Come get your phone. Come get your tablet. Free services. Come sign up. I'm trying to get everybody that could possibly hear me to hear me. Everybody's attention. And I'm very aware of what's going on around me. I'm using my peripheral vision and I'm looking. If anybody's passing by and I didn't get their attention, I'm trying to get their attention, right? And I'm trying to be assertive in my communication to make sure that nobody gets away. Because I look at it like this. If I got to be out here 10 hours, I'm going to make them count. I'm going to make the most progress I possibly can in these 10 hours. I'm going to multiply my production, right? I'm staying busy. I'm not only getting a bunch of people's attention and making sure that I'm signing them up, keeping the line popping. No excuses for that. We got to make sure the line is always long at the tent, right? No matter what, there's no reason for no line ever. Because if there's no line, I'm going to get somebody to come get in line. I'll leave the tent and run across the street into some apartments or into a parking lot, get somebody's attention, and get them over to the tent. Why? Because if there's a line at the tent, more people will stop, right? If there's no line, nobody's stopping. You got to think about it like you're racing in this job. You got to look at it like you're actually racing to get the next customer. This is not a job where you clock in and you get paid for your time. You're a business owner. You're an independent contractor, right? You cannot let excuses run you. Listen, if you had people working for you, you wouldn't take no excuses from them, right? If you hired somebody, let me just give you a scenario. If you hired somebody to go out there to the tent and work for you for the day, you would not let them give you no excuses. You'd be like, buddy, you better be up off your seat and getting some people's attention. I'm not paying you to just sit there. Would you or would you not? But yet some of you will just sit there when you're the one working for you. Think about it. You got to be able to manage yourself. That's the first thing you got to be able to do in this job is lead yourself. You got to think about it. Like if I was working for me, which you are, what kind of accountability would I have there? Why don't you imagine like you're in a movie and somebody's watching you? How great of a motivating person do you want to be on the screen?